Welcome to Tales on the Towpath, the podcast where every mile tells a story.
We're two runners who spend a lot of time out here on the C&O Canal Towpath, talking about training, racing, and everything that happens between the miles.
From early morning runs to the stories that keep us moving.
This is where endurance meets inspiration, one step, one tail at a time.
So lace up and join us on the path, because every trail has a story, and this one's ours.
Welcome back. I'm Adam Lowe.
And I'm Chris Earl. And tonight we have our returning special guest, Katie Lowe.
Hey guys, great to be back.
It's good to have you back as always. So a couple episodes ago, episode 10, Chris, you and I talked about our end of the year and then what we had coming up for January. And on January 1st, all three of us supposedly had a beer mile ready to go, and we were going to do the Winchester beer mile. So Chris, why don't we start with you? How did your beer mile go that day?
Well, as luck would have it, right after we talked about that the other night with our breaking news, I jumped on Run Sign Up to try to sign up for the race, and lo and behold, it was full. So I did not get to run the beer mile. It was a 24-hour flash in the pan news story.
So no beer mile, no time, nothing.
No beer mile, no time, but I hear that you all had a pretty good day.
Well, what's funny, Chris, is that Adam kept saying, Chris is running the beer mile. And I'm like, is he really? Because I didn't know that. And so I always go on and see who is running the beer mile when you can see the find the participant list on Run Sign Up. And the night before, I said, Adam, are you sure he's running the beer mile? And he swore that you weren't. And I kept scrolling, and I'm like, well, it's alphabetized, and there's no Earl in here. And Adam's like, are there any other Chris's? As if you had signed up under a different last name or something.
To be fair, for our listeners, Chris has a government job that's secret. So I didn't know if he had a secret, like, beer mile name to go under, or...
Yeah, but he would have to disclose that during the lie detector test anyway.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so
no, I had every intention of doing it once I committed, and then realized I was too late. Happy for the race that, they maxed out, but I was not anticipating that they would sell out. So better luck next year.
Yeah. So Katie and I did go run the beer mile. It was is blistering the right word?
That's usually for hot, but I think.
What do you call it when it's really
blustery?
Cold? Bluster? What do you? It was chilly. Is that okay? It was 32-ish.
No, I don't even think it was 32. I think it was under 30 degrees.
It was cold, that's for sure. So most people had jackets and pants and gloves and hats and
ear warmers and everything.
Yeah, and I had shorts on and a t-shirt, so we were ready to go. So I'll go over my beer mile real quick, and then I'll let Katie talk about hers. So when we got there, there were you could sign up for one of 4 heats. So we both jumped in the first heat, and I ran a 7:06, which was a beer mile PR. And by about 10 seconds last year, I ran there, and I ran 7:16. So I was really, really happy with it. The first beer I got done in about 9 seconds, and I was closely chased by Jeremy, Luke, and then Katie was probably second out of the gate there. So she was like right behind me on that beer. And then I ran a 1:23 for the lap, came back for the second beer, and chugged it in 13 seconds and then took off. And then I was having some issues burping. So when I got back to the third beer, it took about 20 seconds to get that one down, about a chug and a half. And then a 1:39 for that lap. And with about 100 meters to go, I let out a couple really, really good burps. And the best part about that for me is then it feels like I haven't even drank a beer yet. So I put the fourth beer down in 15 seconds and then ran a 1:33 final lap for 7:06 total. And I got the overall win by about a minute and a few seconds. So it was a good beer mile for me. And yeah, I mean, I had fun. I enjoyed it. It was good. I did not puke even at the end when I really wanted to. After I crossed the finish line, I tried to, but I couldn't get it out. So yeah, it was fun. It was good. I everything was good about it. I enjoyed the weather. I like running in the cold. Perfect. It's fine. So Katie, how about yours?
When we got there, I did sign up for the first heat. They let us sign up for whatever heat we want. Often you go and they tell you when to run, but this one you get to choose when you get there. And we were some of the first people to sign in. So last year, I had signed up for the second heat because pretty much how it goes down there, or at least the past 2 years, is the first heat are people who are trying to run fast, mostly. The second heat's a lot of female, like predominantly females are running it. The third heat
Brewers.
is that the Brewers or is
Yeah.
that the fourth?
Nah, the Brewers.
The Brewers do the third heat, and then a lot of times there might or might not be the fourth heat is just leftovers. And then they do a just for fun relay at the end to anybody who wants to jump in. So sometimes it's people who are already 4 beers in and 4 loops in. So anyway, with that said, I jumped in the first heat this time because last year I realized watching the first heat, it was really nice getting to watch Adam run because a lot of times we're running at the same time, but the nerves kick in. I'm watching other people do it. I would just rather get it out of the way. So I jumped in the first heat and I was second out of the beer drinking chute when Adam left, and I literally left about a second behind him after the first beer. Jeremy and Luke passed me running on the first loop, but when I came back in, I did 30 seconds on the second beer, 38 seconds on the third, and I actually was 42 seconds on the fourth beer. However, I ran my PR of 8:51 in the beer mile, which I was really, really excited because I really was trying to break that 9-minute barrier. 9 minutes flat had been my previous PR. So I was excited to do it. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen because it was so cold, it was windy. As a matter of fact, I looked up my Strava data and it said it was 27 degrees, felt like 12. And there was definitely a.
That's the same thing as blistering, okay? Pretty sure.
But we also had wind at 13.9 miles per hour. So on one side of the loop, you definitely got a good gust of wind. And that just happened to be where the shade was too. So when you were in the sun, it really wasn't all that terrible. But that windy, shady part was a little blistering, as Adam would say. But it was so much fun. I came in first female and sixth overall at the race.
One thing I think is really cool about that Winchester race that you did is that they set up the extra timing mat so you can actually get your splits for while you're drinking the beer. I know I've tried to do it when I've done beer miles in the past using the lap function on my watch, and I'm not running the beer mile as fast as you guys, so losing a half a second or a quarter of a second, hitting my watch isn't a big deal. But that's pretty cool that they go to that level of precision with the results.
Well, I think it's very cool because I think that's the only place we've gotten splits like that. And when I said I had a 30-second beer chug, that was actually from when I crossed the mat into the beer chugging zone until I leave the mat. So what it actually allows me to do, because I do want to run a faster beer mile, I already met the goal of PRing it this year on day one of the year, but now I'm hungry for more. I want to get even better. And that allowed me to look at really closely. That first beer was so fast. 10 seconds I was out of the beer drinking zone. Then I can do a little bit better than 30, 32, 34, and 40. So now I know where I need to improve.
Yeah, so go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was going to ask Katie, what are you doing to try to work on that beer mile time?
Well, what's crazy is leading into this beer mile, I really haven't been drinking that much beer. And so I was a little bit worried about that. Adam said he never threw up. I actually felt the beer really kicking in because I haven't been drinking very much. So I did allow it to come back up, but it was well after I was finished. I went into the brewery and was like, this might not be good for later. So I gave myself permission to have a reversal of fortune outside of the brewery. But then everything was just perfect. However, not having been drinking a lot of beer and wanting to practice the chug and the running part of it, I've invested in some cases of LaCroix, and I just get the plain LaCroix, so I don't have the flavoring part of that. I really don't like that. And we started practicing using LaCroix. I'll do a straight chug with it, or I'll take it down to the treadmill and I'll do my speed work. And in between, when I'm hitting my recovery, I'll chug the LaCroix during the recovery part and then run again. So that's what I need more practice on, obviously, based on my splits from the Winchester Beer Mile. So we're going to hit some of those hard 400 runs, chugging the beer, and then run again hard right afterwards here coming up, leading into my next beer mile, I think.
So a LaCroix mile on the treadmill. I like it.
Yeah. Normally I don't do all 4 because that is a lot, but so far I've, two, maybe 1, I've done something every day this year to prepare for my next beer mile. And sometimes it's
Wow.
just chugging water. Sometimes it's just plain water, but working on the chugging part, it's just like anything else, the more you practice it, the more natural it gets. And I will swear to this, the chugging of the LaCroix is harder than chugging the beer.
Yeah, I imagine the carbonation is probably a little bit higher on the LaCroix than
Yeah.
most beer mile beers. So I can believe that.
Yeah, it's so the beer mile was record-setting day for both of us. It was a lot of fun, and we're probably definitely going to do Winchester again next year, right? So we look forward to that. We also have our own beer mile we put on May 9th at Cushwan Interchange, the Tiki Trot. And then we will also be at the Amani Beer Mile May 30th.
No.
No, May 24th. I'll get the date right here in a second.
23rd, I think.
May 23rd, I believe. One of those days in May.
It's 2 weeks after May 9th, so that would be May 23rd.
May 23rd. Okay. And then we have possibly another beer mile August
16th this year?
16th.
So it's August 15th, and we've never made it down to there because that's when our Gary Brown 5-miler race that we put on, it used to be the same day. And it's called the Brew Mile, and I believe it's in Ashburn, Virginia. I got my eye on that one for this year.
So you heard it here
Nice.
first, ladies. Start practicing your chugs. Katie could be coming to town. All right. So, hey, Chris, on episode 10, we also talked about another challenge that you and I were teammates for on Run Sign Up. It was called the Mileage Gauntlet, and it was supposed to happen from January 1st until January 31st. And basically, our miles would be combined, and we were running against the other teams in the challenge. The problem was about 2 or 3 days before the challenge was supposed to start, we were just one of 2 teams in the challenge. So, why don't you tell us what happened with that?
Yeah, so I think the fact that we signed up first scared everybody off. No, like you said, it for whatever reason just didn't catch on, and so the organizers of the race decided that it wasn't worth it to try to keep up with it for the month for just 2 teams, and they canceled the event, which was a little disappointing, right? Because you and I had been talking and strategizing about how we were gonna run some bigger miles this month. But fortunately, I think it might have been on New Year's Eve. I just happened to stumble across on Instagram a runner from the Austin, Texas area who threw out a challenge to do something very similar on her Instagram profile. And so, as you know, I contacted you and we got signed up that night. And we've been doing pretty well, I'd say. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're in third place technically right now. It's a little bit different for us because we're on the East Coast, and it seems like most of the people are at least Midwest, right, to West. So we run in the morning, and then we jump ahead a little bit, and then they catch up to us at nighttime. But we were in third place when we woke up this morning, and there are some legit good runners, huh? I mean, there's the one team that's in second right now. I think they're two D1 national champions at some point. And go ahead.
The team that's in first place, both runners ran 100K last weekend, so they dropped, what is that, 120 miles on the group in one day.
Right,
So they're pretty far
right.
ahead at this point, but we'll keep chipping away and try to catch up.
Yeah,
But there's what, like 25 or 30 teams in this challenge, and you know, two old guys from West Virginia are hanging in there. So
yeah. I mean, I know. I've been doing roughly 15 miles a day to try to help us out. Most of them in the morning, and then an easier run in the afternoon. And I know you've been putting in a roughly 10 miles a day, and so we're getting almost a marathon a day adding up, and there's people that are ahead of us, which is kind of crazy, but they're killing it, and then there's people that are right behind us keeping us motivated. So it's a pretty fun challenge for sure, and it's a reason to make sure you get out there and get our miles in each day. So we're 13 days in now, so we got, help me out here, 18 more to go. We're not
yeah,
even halfway done yet. Oh man.
13 and 18. Yeah.
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 Is that why
This
you've
is
been putting in extra?
Yeah, that's why I've been doing that, and then the Boston Buddies challenge that I'm in, but I'm waiting for it just to, like, there's gonna have to come a point. So the Boston Buddies Facebook group
Oh.
is doing a calendar challenge, which I did in July a couple years ago, which you run the date, and I've been I guess I'm still in technically on day 13, but I've also been doing like 15 miles each day, so I'm not doing it the smart way to last the entire calendar, that's for sure. But yeah, just trying to get the miles in and help us out. There is a prize at the end. Chris, do you want to talk about the prizes?
Oh yeah. So the overall winners were originally, it was just for $100. Each of the overall teams would get $100 if they won the distance challenge. But my understanding is ASICS got wind of the challenge, and they offered to sponsor and provide, I think it's a pair of shoes each, right? For each of the top three teams. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope it's a pair each so we don't have to share a pair of shoes.
I get the left one.
Sounds good.
But which size would you
Yeah,
order?
yeah, I'm a
Oh,
9.5 or 10, so that'll be
yeah.
that'll be
So
good. So yeah, so go ahead.
I was just going to say that that's enough to keep me motivated for a little while, especially as long as we're right there in the chase for the podium. So,
Yep, right. So right now we're I think we're in third, and I guess technically at the recording of this we are in second, because I don't know that the other two guys have run yet, because it's probably 4:55 where they are, so they probably have plenty of time still. So we'll check back in tomorrow and see where we are, but we definitely have some work to continue in order to stay in second or third. First is what, 120 miles ahead of us, so that's a little bit out there for right now, but you never know what could happen. It's a long month.
it's still a long month, and if they take a few rest days here after doing their big miles last weekend, maybe we can chip away at that. So,
Yeah. Well, I don't want to spend too much time on the next topic, but I want to touch on it real quick because all three of us went, and a couple of days after the beer mile, we did a 1 mile race at the HCC indoor track for the Parks and Rec. They did a New Year's resolution 1 mile run, and I forced Katie to get out of her comfort zone by signing her up and paying the crazy fee of $5 to get her invested, and to make sure she would attend. And it was a really really cool event. It was smaller. There might have been about 30 total racers, and I think we had uh, 13 to 15 people wearing two Lowe jerseys or shirts at the race. So that was really, really cool. We brought a big group of people there with us. Probably about half of the racers were people that we run with all the time at pub runs or race with our jerseys on. So it's really, really cool. I know for me, I made a lot of mistakes during the race. I didn't start up front like I should have. I kind of thought it was a marathon and thought I had time to get going, and I didn't. So anyway, I ran a 5:30, but at the end of the day, it was a mile, and I was happy with it. But for me, the most exciting part was like the camaraderie that we all had. Like there was only a couple people in like the sub 9 race, and Jamie Dick, the race director, asked if people wanted to run with him, and before you knew it, the track was full with 15 people running around, and they all stayed behind, just kind of pacing the group. And then I'll just end my story with this. It was great for me to see my son run the mile. He ran, I think, a 5:18, and he won his sub 6 heat. And then my daughter Lacey, who's in 4th grade, ran 10:19, I think, and that was her fastest mile ever. And it was great because like Katie's girls were there and they were like cheering for her as she was running around. And I ran with Lacey the whole time, and we had about 10, 12 people behind her cheering for her. And at one point she was crying, and then she was laughing, and then she was yelling at me that I
Walking.
was trying to kill her. And like, so she was told me she was never gonna run again. And then like she laid on the ground and like just laid there for like 10 minutes, and then she was like, okay, I could do that again. So it was just like what every runner has done after like a marathon, but she did it after a mile. But it was really, really
That's
cool
cool.
to see her do that. So how about you, Katie? What was your race experience that day?
Well, Adam's not lying. He did have to sign me up to make sure that I would participate. I told anyone who would listen that I thought the mile race would feel like me running a 200 in high school. I think I ran the 4x2 twice in high school, and it's the same thing. By the time I even got my legs moving, it was over. Like I was already handing off the baton. So the mile race was something I don't know, more nervous about than I was to go out and run JFK probably, just because it's so fast. I didn't know how to pace it. I don't think I've ever run a mile race other than maybe 2 times in high school, my freshman year of high school. That was a long, long time ago. So I went out and I ran a 6:36. I'm not sure that that's the best I can do. I do think I can do better than that. But running the beer mile 2 days before, I spent 6 hours with a tattoo artist getting some work done the day before. I think all that put a little taxing on my body. So I'm not sure I was showing up completely ready, but I'm happy with the 6:36. I told people that my goal was maybe around a 6:30, give or take 10 to 15 seconds, and I fell right in that range. I know I joke that Adam had to sign me up to get me to participate, but I would have done it anyway. Like he said, it was only $5. I have to run that day anyway. So, I was glad I couldn't let all my friends have all the fun there that day. So, I surely would have jumped in even if Adam hadn't forced my hand. But it was a lot of fun, and I don't know. How about you, Chris?
I really enjoyed the race too. Much like Adam, I felt like I made a mistake in the beginning. I let, all the faster, younger guys, get up on the front of the line, and I figured I would just tuck in behind them and go and see how long I could hang on. But what I found was the main part of the pack wasn't necessarily running as fast as I wanted to run on the first couple of laps. And so I kept finding myself boxed in and couldn't really make a move. And I tried to be patient for a little while. That lasted about 2 laps. And then I said, well, I'm either going to go around these guys and I'll either have a great race or I'll burn out, but I'm going to give it a go because I'm getting frustrated back here. So I made a move on lap 3 and got myself up to the front of that pack and just kind of hung on there. And a couple of them passed me on the last lap of the race, but overall, I think it was the right move for me. I ended up with a running a 5:41, which was well, it was the first time I'd ever run a mile indoors, so I wasn't sure how that would compare to running like the Market Street mile. Um, and it was close. I was just a few seconds off my age group PR, so I was happy with that. And I would definitely go back and do it again next year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I will say when Adam was running, he mentioned that he made a mistake. They started your heat, and he was just like, looked like he was just out for a Sunday jog. He probably ran harder off the line at JFK and Marine Corps than he did starting that mile.
Okay, that's probably true. But I will say this, there's something to like that can be said about, like, there was one year I was winning the JFK 50 miler for about 50 meters. So that sounds
It's
way more
impressive.
impressive than like I was winning the HCC indoor mile, right? Like, but yeah, I don't know. I just I'm getting older, I guess. It takes me a while to get warmed up. I should have done like a fast lap and then stopped right at the line and got ready to go again. I just wasn't ready for the gun, I guess. I don't know.
You looked like you were having fun, though.
Oh yeah, I had a great time. So, Chris, you are about to embark on a race weekend, and I want you to take a little bit of time here and explain to our listeners what you're doing, where you're, first of all, where you're going, because it would be crazy to run the races that you're running here in West Virginia area with the cold weather that we're getting. And the name of the race definitely wouldn't fit with the cold, as we have talked about, as we have talked about before. So, Chris, I'm sorry. Now you got to mark this as explicit too. Chris, so why don't you go ahead and tell us uh, the name of the race, where you're going, and then how the race is set up, okay?
Yeah, so I am heading out this weekend for Key West, Florida, and I am going to participate in the Big Pecker Challenge. For those of you who are familiar with Key West, you'll know that there's a flock of, I guess, feral chickens and roosters that kind of roam the city down there. And so it's named after them, allegedly. And the format for the weekend is on Saturday, there's a 5K, and then 1 hour later, there is a 10K. And so you run both of those races back to back on Saturday, have the afternoon to rest and recover, and then on Sunday morning, there'll be a half marathon. So 5K, 10K, half marathon, all in one weekend, and looking forward to collecting those medals and coming back for Medal Monday.
Do you have time goals for the races?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think an A goal would be sub 20 in the 5K, sub 40 in the 10K, and right around 90 for the half. But a realistic B goal is probably 21, 42, 133. So we'll
Well,
see, we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's super flat down there, and the weather's supposed to be perfect, like 70 degrees max for the day. It doesn't look like it's going to be very windy, so it could be a really good day to go out and run some fast times.
So, what's your strategy? Are you going to go out in each race and just give it everything you have? Are you going to hold back a little bit in the 5K and the 10K to save some for the next day in the half marathon? How are you going to approach that?
I think I will probably go out hard in the 5K and try to hang on in the 10K, and then we'll see how I feel come Saturday. If I totally blow up in the 10K and I'm like, "Oh, that was too much," then I might just enjoy the half marathon on Sunday, but I really do want to kind of shoot for that A goal just because, of course, when I get back, everybody's going to ask me about my times, and I don't want to be too far off what everybody knows I'm capable of running just because I'm down in Key West. But that said, I'm not going to get too wrapped around the axle. It's really just for a fun weekend. We're going down with some friends. We've talked about the one friend. She's the daughter of some really good friends we have who, if you had told me a year ago that she would be going to Key West to run races, I would have laughed, but she's a regular listener of this podcast now and has started a run streak of her own. And so I'm really excited to see how she does in her first, big race adventure weekend.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I want to encourage you a little bit in the half marathon. I don't know if you saw the Houston half marathon at all or heard anything about it, but there were, I believe, 6 guys that went sub 1 hour
I
in the
think it was
race. So I'm
8.
just 8. So I'm just figuring you
Yeah.
should try that. They did a pretty good job. So I would see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be done a lot faster.
That's true. That is a lot more time for rum tasting.
That's
So,
right.
so Chris, let's talk serious real quick. So, with your A goals, those are pretty good goals. 20 minute, sub 20, and then you're asking, an hour break, and then you're gonna go basically 20 again without stopping. Do you have like a recovery plan?
Is it a full hour or is it
Yeah,
hour from
that's
start to
that's a
start?
good question.
It's from
It's
start to
start to
start.
start, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. So it'll be finish the 5K and get as much
Okay, so you'll
tailwind
have
and
you'll
yeah.
have 40 minutes and 2 seconds to rest. Okay, I got you. So do you have a plan there, or are you gonna kind of like I if I could offer my non professional advice, I would say to like keep moving, like walking, to keep the muscles loose. I wouldn't just go get done and sit down and relax. But like, yeah. So okay, so I didn't realize it was 7 a.m., 8 a.m. That actually might help you. And I would almost think of it like a 9.3 mile race with
Yeah.
an aid station in the middle. That's kind of weird, but yeah, that's that's the way I would think I would treat it.
Or a last one standing or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it will be a little you're right. I hadn't really thought about the fact that you might start to tighten up in that 40 minutes. So we'll see. And that's why I said it might not be realistic, but got to give it a shot, right?
But you're experienced at the last one standing and at much longer distances. I think with maybe I'm just wishful thinking for you, but I think with the 5K, I mean, how many times have we run a 5K and then stood around and eaten donuts at the Crumpies or just socialized? We could probably go out and run a 10K, don't you think,
Yeah.
later without tightening up too bad? I don't know that it'll be too difficult for you because of your distance training and last one standing and final countdown, those kinds of training, I mean, races that you've done in the past. As long as you just don't lay on the ground as soon
Yeah.
as you burn your legs through
Do you know?
on the 5K.
Do you know what another, like, if it were me, since you said your A goal was 20 minutes and then 40 minutes, so that's 60. So your B goal could just be like a sub 60 combined. So
Yeah.
like that could give you something else to shoot for in the 10K if you end up running like a 19:20. Now you have 40 extra seconds to play with if it starts to kind of go downhill a little bit at the end. But uh I have faith that you'll crush that big pecker.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun to follow your journey and see how you do there.
Yeah, the other thing I want to do while I'm down there, I've already been Strava stalking a little bit, and I noticed that there are a lot of segments down there that are just itching to have a new local legend. So on my non-race days, I might go out and see how many local legends I can collect.
Now, are you going for the local legend or are you going for the king of the mountain? Is
I'm
that what
probably
it's
too
called?
old for King of the Mountain. So,
You never know.
so if I find one with where the time's in reach, I'll certainly go for it. But I might just collect the local legends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be really good to have you. And then like you just have to like screenshot it and save it because you don't know when you'll be able to go back down there and defend it, right? You have to
That's
make a
right.
flight down just to defend your local legend every 90 days. But that'll be
We'll
good.
see about that. But yeah.
Yeah. No, that'll be awesome. We're excited to see how you do there. All right, so my next little adventure, I guess, coming up is I'm going to go back to Northern Ohio University and run the indoor marathon that they have on the indoor track there at their college campus. That is January 25th, so in about 12 days. So, on top of trying to do 12 miles a day, the calendar club, I'm also going to have to figure out if I'm going to taper for an indoor marathon and rest for a day or two. And then, kind of go from there. So, last year, Katie came and did the half marathon, and I did the full marathon, which at the indoor track is 211 laps around the 200-meter track. So it was something I'd been wanting to do for a while. I think I ran 3 hours and 2 minutes. So when registrations opened back up, I signed back up with the goal of breaking 3 hours. That's still a goal. It's teetering a little bit based on what we're doing in this challenge, and what I've kind of placed value on in the recent days. A new pair of shoes sounds pretty good. So not letting Chris down sounds pretty good. So we'll see what happens with the time for the indoor marathon. But it was a lot of fun. We're assigned a college track athlete, and they have a spreadsheet, and they record our time for every single lap that we run. So when you finish the race, you get the spreadsheet with handwritten splits for every single lap. They make a poster for you with your name, something funny about you usually, maybe where you're from or whatever they can learn from you from like the signups. And it's just a lot of fun. There's about 40 people in the race, and you're seeing the same people over and over again. So really looking forward to doing that race again, and just going down there and seeing what I can do on the indoor track. So that race will be a lot different than the indoor mile for sure, because I'll have to do that 26 times. But that day will be hot, humid, but a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to the indoor marathon, and that's January 25th for me. So that's my next biggest race coming up.
So, Adam, I was just doing a quick search for 211 laps to run a 3 hour marathon. That's 51 seconds per lap. Is that what you're tracking?
Yeah, I think so. Because last year my goal was to do like between 45 and 47 seconds, and then kind of just hold on or see what happens. And I at the halfway mark, I was at like 129:20, something like that. So I was under. But what happens in the indoor marathon is when you're going around the curves and you're passing people, sometimes like I had to get pushed out into lane 3 or 4 to pass. So you end up running a little bit longer than the actual marathon, and it's hard because everybody has a right to the track, and I get it, and I'm not gonna like run up behind somebody and like push them out of the way. But yeah, it does get to be a lot when you're going around the curves every 12 seconds, and you have to go out into lane 3, 4, and then you're coming back around.
What about your watch? Does it track it? Like, can you look at your watch halfway through and have an idea of where you are for the half marathon, or do you think, or is it accurate at all?
Well, last year I actually took my watch off and put it on the table around mile 1 because it was not tracking at all. So I knew I'd get frustrated like by looking at it and not getting the correct information. So I just put it on the table, and I relied solely on my counter for telling me. Like, I would ask him like, "Hey, when I come back around, what lap am I on?" And he'd be like, "All right, 123," and he tell me like, "Now you're on mile 16.7 or whatever." So he was really really good for me. But yeah, and they had a clock, so you could tell where you were each lap. You could tell if you were on pace or not. But yeah, I didn't even I look at my watch way too much when I run. So looking at it and seeing like if I'm on mile 15 of the marathon and I look down and saw like mile 7.8, that would just mess me up completely. So I didn't even want to mess with it.
My watch has an indoor track mode, so I don't know if yours didn't have that, but mine does, and I used that, but it still didn't get the complete mileage. I remember having to put in like a manual run to get the rest of the 13.1, even though I know I would have run a little bit more than that because, like Adam said, you're going in and out when you could place your own aid station stuff on a table that was at the outside of the track. So that was consistently not just running, in lane 1 the whole time for a half marathon or especially the marathon. But it was really cool. You change directions every 30 minutes. Then they had like riddles up on the big screen. And when I was running that, it just so happened that every time I was coming around, it just so happened to be on the answer portion of the riddle. So I kind of played a game with myself where I'd see the answer and then kind of like Jeopardy. What was the question to the riddle? Now that I'm seeing it's a snowman's belt or something like that, because most of them were like winter themed. But so it was a lot of fun, even though I had no idea what to expect. I'm not going back this year, but that's more situational, like family stuff with girls' soccer games and things going on that I don't want to miss. So I'm not going to Ohio.
All right. Well, cool. That sounds like it'll be a fun adventure for you as well, Adam.
It definitely should be. We'll see what happens.
Okay, guys, so as we wrap up, I'm going to flip the script on you a little bit, and I'm going to handle the after party questions. So, are you ready?
Ready.
We've discussed music or podcasts during runs, but do you listen to music during a race? Yay or nay? Chris?
Nay.
Negative.
I'm a yay most of the time. How about dark morning running or dark evening? Which do you prefer?
Dark morning for me.
Yes, I'm definitely a morning runner. Dark or light, doesn't matter.
If I'm going to run in the dark, I definitely prefer the morning than the evening. All the bad people are asleep. They're not up at 4 or 5 a.m. Okay, what would you prefer, a beer mile or a food mile?
Beer mile.
Beer mile.
I'm a beer mile girl too, if that's not obvious. How about chugging out of a bottle, a can, or a cup? Which would you prefer?
Cup would be way easier.
You're right. The cup is easier, but I'm going to go with a can.
Cup is easiest, but I'm also going with the can. I've tried the bottle recently. Now I'm breaking my own rules. But anyway, it wasn't as fast as I thought it should be. Okay, indoor or outdoor marathon in January?
I'm going to go outdoor.
Yeah, I would go indoor, but on the indoor track, not a treadmill mile or marathon.
Oh.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I would probably still run outdoor. Unless it's below 15, and then I'll go to the indoor.
You didn't specify a location, so would Florida count?
No, you're right.
That's true.
Okay, well, I was thinking, in my mind, the weather we've been having the last
I
couple
know.
weeks.
Yeah.
And not the random 50-degree day either. And this is the last one. What shoes did you wear for your indoor 1-mile race?
Saucony Endorphin Pros for me.
I wore the Saucony Endorphin Elites.
The 2s, because I also wore the
Oh, yeah.
Saucony Endorphin Elite 2s in a different colorway.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's all I got for you. What are you guys drinking? Anything fun?
I'm drinking Nugs Not Drugs. It's a hazy IPA from Black Flag Brewing.
I am drinking a Michelob Ultra.
And I'm going to crack open a LaCroix and practice for the beer mile.
Count the seconds, everybody. So, Chris, before we wrap up here, while Katie is done chugging almost.
Done.
There you go. What do we have on next week's episode?
So next week, our special guest will be Billy Rudd from Cloud Splitter Coffee, and he's going to come on and talk about some of the challenges he's done over the last few years in the wintertime and the race he's got coming up this spring, or actually in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and before we get into talking to Billy, we will recap your races down in Florida for sure, so everybody knows how you did down there. So that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll have your race recap, and then we'll have Billy on, and I'm looking forward to that conversation for sure.
And for all our Key West listeners, start protecting your segments.
Go get him, Chris.
Go get him, Chris. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Stay warm out there.
That's all for today's episode of Tales on the Towpath. Thanks for joining us on another run down memory lane and along the C&O. If you've enjoyed the show, be sure to follow, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep your pace steady and your stories flowing.